Scala here from Fit with Liz, and tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 foods / products that you guys want to make sure that you stay away from. 5 foods / products that you can consume that will actually affect your hormone levels. It'll increase your risk for certain types of cancers. It'll increase your risk for hypothyroidism. So these products, these foods actually mimic estrogen receptors in your body, or mimic the estrogen hormone in your body and can trigger those estrogen receptors. So these are huge. These are the most common. And so I'm going to tell you the 5 ways to make sure that you can avoid these different hormonal imbalances, that you can decrease your risk for these types of diseases and these types of cancers. So the first thing is, guys, and then what's the one that you're probably the most familiar with, is soy. Now, I know I've heard 2 drastically different stories about soy. You have, hey Donna, thanks for joining. You have the people over here that'll say that soy is great, it has great heart benefits. You know, I've heard that it's done wonders over in Asia. And then, hey Sabrina, and then you have the people that are like, no, don't have soy. It's gonna, increase your risk for breast cancer. It's gonna increase your risk for ovarian and cervical cancer. And so, first of all, I wanna make sure you guys know it's completely like comparing apples to oranges when you understand the details. So what happens is, the reason that soy got this great name about the benefits that it had, about the heart benefits it had, is because there were people in Okinawa, Japan, that were consuming a bunch of fermented soybeans, and they were noticing great health benefits. But guys, this is completely different than the type of soy that we have over here. This is completely different than the soy milk we have here, the soy protein isolate we have here, all the different types of, even like the soybeans that we have here. It's a totally different story. The soy that we have here is very genetically modified. It has different estrogen mimicking effects. And so you really can't compare the two. So when we're talking about, wanting to make sure that we avoid soy, it really comes down to the type of soy that we're consuming here and that we know that we have. So when you're thinking about the type of soy milk that you have, or when you're thinking about especially the type of protein powder that you have, the reason I found out that this was a big problem when I initially found out about this, guys, was when my good friend Lindsay actually reached out to me several years back, I remember, and she was saying that she was breaking out, and I asked her, I was like, what type of protein are you taking? And she said it was this random one that she had gotten from Walmart, and I said, okay, well, turn over the label when you get home and let me know what the ingredients are. And the first thing was, soy protein isolate. And I was like, girl, you have to throw that out, and we have to get you a different one, because it's actually mimicking like the estrogen like effects in your body. And seriously, as soon as she stopped it, she stopped breaking out. And so guys, that's the power here. Like, that's the difference. It's not even the same thing that we have as, when the people that are in Japan are taking their fermented soybeans with very high probiotic content and vitamin K2. It's a totally different story. Brittany, what'd you say? I'll have to scroll back to it then. That I'm glad, yeah, you're glad I made this video. There are so many people that aren't educated on it, because estrogen actually, so this is actually mimicking estrogen in your body, and it triggers what's called the isoflavones, or has isoflavones in it that are triggering these estrogen receptors. And so that's why, like, you'll hear guys get worried about having soy, because it can lead to impotence, it can lead to different testicular issues. But many guys actually experience what's called like gynecomastia, which is when they get like breast tissue, like female like breast tissue in their body. So they want to stay away from soy because it is mimicking the estrogen. Like, if you guys really think about all of the feedback that you hear from this, it really makes sense. So soy is the #1 thing. Trying to make sure that you eliminate as much of that as possible. Sugar, naturally, the next thing. Sugar actually decreases your progesterone levels in your body, and of course that's going to throw off all your other hormone levels. So if you're someone that's having processed sugars, like, that's kind of a no-brainer. You want to cut that out anyway for multiple reasons. But if you are someone that consumes a lot of grains, of course, any carbohydrate is going to break down into sugar. So I'm not saying that you can't consume grains, but you can get a little smarter with it, or try and split up the ratios. So if you can get in a couple more fruits that are on the lower glycemic side, such as, apples, especially green apples. Brittany, I know that you love those. Green apples are one of the better fruit options to keep the sugars down, and then incorporating vegetables. Or if you want to have your grains, I always recommend my clients to do a sprouted grain. So instead of, the regular wheat bread that you get Ezekiel bread. It's a natural sprouted bread. So it's a totally different story. I somehow just turned off the comments, so sorry about that, guys. Okay. So then the next one that you're gonna find, and honestly, this is the one that you want to avoid the most, is conventional meat and conventional dairy. And many of you guys probably have heard my opinion on dairy in general. I don't recommend many of my clients to have it because honestly, most people don't get organic, from grass-fed sources dairy. But even if they do, a lot of times the gastrointestinal effects and inflammation, it's just not worth it for them. But there was actually a recent study done in Spain that found that on average, a dairy product, whether it be milk, cheese, whatever it may be, the average amount of chemicals and hormones, like different hormone medications, is 20 or more. So when you have that, that gallon of milk that you just bought from the grocery store, you have on average 20 or more chemicals or hormone-like medications. So you have like RBGH, so it's growth hormone in there, which just to let you know, the physique protein powder is actually RBGH-free cows, just saying. But that's a big reason why I'm a proponent of that, because people don't realize, like, if you don't have RBGH-free cows that are giving you either your protein sources from your whey or your casein, or giving you any type of your dairy products, guys, you are literally mimicking like hormones and estrogen effects in your body. Like, it had estradiol in that, it had multiple other hormone medications in it. So it really makes a difference when it comes to the source that you get your meats and that you get your dairy from. So you have to think, like, if you're taking the milk from those animals, when you consume that actual meat, I mean, it's the same exact thing. So the conventional meat and dairy, guys, if you're on a budget and you're trying to eat healthy, the thing that you don't want to skimp out on is dairy. And I mean, honestly, I'd be fine putting away the dairy, but especially meats, like, when it comes to the chicken, when it comes to the beef, try and get free range, grass-fed, organic, the best that you can. It's where you really don't want to cut corners, because, it's not a surprise that you hear so many doctors say that, I wonder why females are no longer hitting, their menstrual cycles at ages 13, 14, 15. You literally have 9 and 10-year-old females growing breasts, like growing hips, and getting their menstrual cycles that early on, guys, because like the way that our foods and everything is processed anymore is totally different, and it's these estrogen mimicking properties. So we really have to be conscious about that, and too many people still think of soy as this wonderful thing, but it's not the same type of soy, guys, so you have to be very, very careful. Yeah, Andrea, I know that you said you'll be buying a different milk for sure. If you can go, and especially if it's something that you and your kids have on a daily basis, make sure, don't get skimpy with it. Go and get something that is, from grass-fed cows, and that is organic. And the final thing, guys, and the reason why I said foods/products is BPA in plastics. It's a component of many plastic items, and Teflon pans. Now, Teflon, I know that I heard about this like years and years back, so I was a little bit more aware that I shouldn't have Teflon pans. But BPA, we all know that it's bad. It's just a component that makes a lot of, like plastic water bottles and things like that. But people don't really realize the difference that it makes. And it's not just making your water unhealthy. It's literally the fact that when your water bottle is exposed, like if you leave a water bottle in the car and it's a hot day out and you go back and you're really thirsty the next day and, you go and you drink that, the fact that that water bottle was under that heat let the BPA seep into your water, and it actually has 90 to 100 times more of those estrogen mimicking components in there than if it would have just stayed room temperature. Now, the thing for me was, first of all, I always drink out of my, I drink out of like my blender bottle, and these are like certified BPA-free. So I always like fill mine up out of, my faucet or my Brita or whatever. So I've never been a really huge water bottle person anyway, but I started to think, I was like, even if I was like, yeah, I know we're not supposed to drink out of water bottles because, you kind of want to like save the earth, but there's so much more to it, guys. Like, even if you're someone that's really, really conscious about making sure that you don't let your water bottles get heated, and you're thinking, oh, you went to the grocery store and it was at least room temperature, if not refrigerated, or you went to like Wawa or Sheetz or like your local convenience store and you grabbed a water bottle, you're thinking, hey, like it's at a cold temperature. You bring it home, you put it in your refrigerator, it's at a cold temperature, no problem. It never got heated. I didn't leave it in my car, I didn't leave it on the sidewalk and decide the next day I was gonna go get it. But guys, think about this. You have no idea what the heck happened before it got to Wawa, before it got to Giant or Wegmans or Whole Foods or wherever you're getting stuff. Like, you have no idea if it was sitting on the truck in like obnoxious heat, or if it was sitting at the plant where it got packaged in great heat, or sitting on the sidewalk in great heat before it even got moved from the truck into the store that you got it at. And so that's the stuff that we have to think about, because yeah, like we did a great job transporting it and keeping it at room temperature or keeping it cold, but you have no idea what happened, those, how many different, tracks and journeys until it got to that final destination and then you brought it home. So just trying to avoid, stuff that's in plastic water bottles altogether. But guys, also plastic food containers. And I'll tell you, this is something that I didn't think about for a while. I meal prep a lot of my food. I meal prep almost all of my food. And many people use glass containers, but if I'm taking a stack of 3 or 4 different meals with me, glass gets really, really heavy. So I find BPA-free, food containers, meal prep containers. But many people don't. I know a lot of people that go to a bulk food store like Costco, and you'll get the ones that are plastic. But if you don't think about it and you just go and throw it in the microwave to heat up whatever meal you have in there, you literally just had all of that BPA seep into your food. So it's literally all of this estrogen. So it's all these things that you have to think about that sometimes, it's you hear it and you're like, duh, but you wouldn't have thought about it if someone didn't point it out to you. So guys, soy, sugar, conventional meat, conventional dairy, what did we just talk about? BPA and Teflon pans, like when you're cooking your eggs and whatnot. Think about that, guys. It all has estrogen mimicking properties in there. So if you want to know how to detox your body, if you want to know how to, balance out those estrogen, progesterone levels and be able to get them back to normal, cruciferous vegetables are awesome to be able to do that if you're looking for a food source. So cruciferous vegetables, you're thinking about broccoli. Honestly, that causes a lot of gastrointestinal distress. I don't recommend that to most people. I would rather them say kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, collard greens. Those are all different types of cruciferous vegetables. Also, I know that I take my little yellow pill on a daily basis. It has milk thistle in it. Milk thistle is a natural detoxifier as well. And then, the little yellow pill in general, it's going to activate the gene in your body that produces the enzymes to be able to reduce those stressors in your body, to be able to actually lower those stress levels, balance out hormones that are due to an imbalance of stress. And so there are a bunch of different ways to be able to detoxify, guys, but just try and be really conscious about stuff that has soy in it. Like even just think like soybean oil. There's so much stuff. So look at the labels and make sure that you're not causing a bunch of estrogen chaos to go on in your body. If you guys have any questions or if I missed anything, Donna, yes, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Yes, you're welcome for the information. And if you have any questions that you guys think of, feel free to post them below. I will help you out as I can. Have a good night, guys.